Tonight, trial of Dr. Keselato Forson for causing financial loss to the state takes dramatic twist as the minority leader petitions Chief Justice to allow a live media broadcast of his trial. We have details from his raging scandal where a private legal practitioner says the Attorney General can be cited for causing financial loss to the state by rejecting the plea bargain request.
For the Attorney General not to have accepted it also raises a question as to the motive for why he wants to prosecute the case. And in some cases, we can even say that the Attorney General could be tried for causing financial loss to the state.
Stay with me for all the emerging details on this developing story. Tonight, Minority Leader Dr. Keselato Forson is impressing on Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo to allow a live broadcast of his ongoing trial because of the public interest the case has generated. There has been heightened public interest in the case after the other accused person, businessman Richard Jakpa, alleged in open court the Attorney General has been impressing on him to incriminate the minority leader. The NDC has since published a call recording allegedly proving this claim made in court. The governing NPP and the Attorney General's department have categorically denied that the AG has done anything wrong. In the last few hours, lawyer for the minority leader says because of all of this, the trial must be broadcast live. Kweku Asante of our legal affairs desk joins me in studio with a copy of this letter from the lawyers of the minority. Kweku, what is the reasoning provided in this request to back the request for a live telecast?
So this letter from Aziz Bamba, an associate, that is Dr. Basit Bamba, a lecturer at the University of Ghana Law School and lead counsel for Dr. Keselato Forson, was received at the Chief Justice Office on the 30th of May today. And it is titled Republic vs. Keselato Forson and two others with the case number cited. Dear Honorable Chief Justice, request for full media access, including live broadcast of subsequent court proceedings. It says, we represent and hold the instructions of Honorable Dr. Keselato Forson, our client, in respect of the above reference case, which is pending before the High Court. We write to formally request the live broadcast of all subsequent court proceedings in the case of Republic vs. Keselato Forson and two others. This request is made on behalf of our client in light of the recent developments that have significantly impacted public perception of the case and the administration of justice. Our client, Honorable Dr. Keselato Forson, is the minority leader in Parliament and the MP for Adwumako Enyan Esiam constituency in the central region of Ghana. He was arraigned before the High Court, Accra Financial and Economic Division, on 17th of January 2022 and charged with willfully causing financial loss to the Republic and intentionally misapplying public property. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges. The prosecution closed the case on 14 February 2023, and on submission of no case, the court ruled that accused persons, including our client, had a case in the following on the submission to answer. The trial court held entirely as follows. The court the ruling of Justice Efia Sewa Sariboche in aligning this. But the letter subsequently makes the point that given all that have transpired around this case, they do believe that granting a public hearing in respect of this is quite important for transparency.
Interesting. Quite some interesting days ahead of us. But the minority leader himself has a statement on this. What does it say?
Yes, the minority leader has put out a statement on social media. It says, in the wake of the recent expose concerning the alleged misconduct of the Attorney General Godfrey Adame, I have instructed my lawyers to petition the Chief Justice for the live broadcast of all subsequent proceedings in the ambulance trial. This request is motivated by a deep commitment to transparency and open justice principles and are fundamental to a fair and impartial legal system. The allegations against the Attorney General are deeply concerning. If true, they represent a serious breach of public trust and a threat to the integrity of our judicial system. It is imperative that these allegations be thoroughly investigated and that the public be given opportunity to witness proceedings firsthand. Live broadcasting the trial would serve several important purposes. First, It would ensure that the public has full access to the evidence and the arguments presented in court. This would allow citizens to form their own informed opinions about the case and hold the participants accountable for their actions. Second, live broadcasting will promote transparency and accountability by making the proceedings accessible to all. Third, live broadcasting will serve a powerful deterrent against future misconduct, knowing that their actions will be subject to public scrutiny. Those involved in the legal system are more likely to uphold the highest ethical standards. I believe that a live broadcasting of this ambulance trial is essential to ensuring a fair and just outcome. It is in the best interest of both the public and the legal system that these proceedings be conducted with the utmost transparency. I urge the Chief Justice to grant my request and allow the public to witness this important trial firsthand.
Well, I mean, some weeks ago, the CJ accepted a request from the Attorney General himself to broadcast the anti-gay cases. What reasons were offered and how do they relate with the reasons in the minority leader's request? Kweku.
So that letter was dated from the Attorney General's chamber to the Judicial Secretary, to the leadership, the Chief Justice. And it says, respectfully, in view of the public interest in the cases concerning the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, I would like to recommend that the media, including radio and television, be given full access to the relevant courts to undertake a coverage of all proceedings in those cases concerning the bill. The cases under reference are as follows. 1, Dr. Amanda Odwe versus Speaker of Parliament and another. Richard Delaskai versus the Parliament of Ghana and another. That's 2. And then in the High Court, there's Mr. Paul Boamasefa, the Speaker of Parliament, and another. And 2, Dr. Prince Obrikran versus the Attorney General. It is my respectful view that the transparency to be engendered by a coverage of the proceedings will be in the best interest of the administration of justice. That was signed by Godfrey Debordami to the Chief Justice.
Okay.
And it cited the huge public interest in those cases. We know that since then, the Chief Justice had granted this request. And in fact, when Dr. Amanda Odwe and Richard Delaskai cases were all heard in the Supreme Court, both radio and TV were allowed a live telecast. And in fact, on Monday, another case concerning the anti-LGBTQ bill, that is Mr. Paul Boamasefa, the Speaker of Parliament, will be heard at the High Court.
Okay.
And the Judicial Secretary, the Judicial Service have since communicated to Media House that they are allowed to telecast those proceedings in the High Court live. And so the minority leader is relying on this precedent to call for something similar.
And it's, I mean, you see some similar lines there, transparency. So allow it, let the public see this. Now, Kweku, stay with me because but there are more on this Damigate matter. Now, private legal practitioner Samson Ladia Yenini is questioning the reasons given by the Attorney General in refusing to accept a plea bargain request in the ongoing trial of the minority leader. Lawyers for the third accused person, Richard Jakpa, wrote to the Attorney General conveying a proposal from Big C Trading LLC to pay €2 million out of the 2.37 million euros the state claims to have lost in the ambulance transaction. We'll hear from Samson Ladia in shortly. First, though, Kweku, you're still with me here, and I'm sure you have more on this particular development. Kweku, what were the terms of this proposal from Big C through the lawyers of Jakpa?
So the initial terms was that the Big C company, which is not involved in this case, was going to pay €2 million to the state. And this were the plan. They said they were going to pay €500,000 on the execution of the arrangement. So once the AG agreed to this plea bargain, they're going to pay €500,000. And then within 6 months of execution of this agreement, they would then pay the 1.5 million outstanding. They also demanded that government releases the 30 ambulances in its custody. We know that 30 of these ambulances released through Big C are currently not in operation and are in the custody of government.
So that was part of the request.
That was part of the request. And then they wanted government to discontinue the case.
Okay.
Eventually. The Attorney General rejected this plea deal because he said the Big C company, LLC, based in Dubai, which is making this request, is not currently a party to the case. So that was the first correspondence between Jakpa's lawyers, which were conveying this proposal from Big C to the AG. Then lawyers for Richard Jakpa again then rise to the AG, saying that the AG says he's not unable to accept the deal because Big C is not a party to the case. Then the lawyers for Richard Jakpa say, okay, if that is the case, then they adopt the proposal of Big C as though it is their own. And because they are a party to the suit, they are the ones now making that proposal to the Attorney General with a little bit of a revise of those proposals.
Okay.
And we know that the Attorney General again rejected that arrangement. We understand within that period, the Attorney General's office sought to know from the minority leader, who is the first accused, whether or not he was in support of this plea bargain. The minority leader at the time said he was not opposed because that is Big C saying they were going to pay the money. If they say they are going to pay the money and the AG is acceptable, the minority leader is not opposed to that. But the AG wanted the minority leader not just to not oppose it, he wanted him to be part of it. But the minority leadership at the time, the minority leader himself, Dr. Kesela Forson, we understand, said accepting that will mean accepting that you are guilty. And because of that, he was not going to accept that. The AG again rejected that plea bargain agreement. Then there was a third one. The terms now a little bit restructured because Big C through Japa was going to pay 1 million Ghana cedis on 1 million euros on execution of the contract and then pay the rest of that 1 million within 6 months of execution. Again, there was another letter from the AG that said the terms were not acceptable and rejected this deal.
Well, Samson Ladiayanini, who is also host of Newsfile on Joy News, says the AG needs to offer some cogent reasons why he refused the plea bargain request.
We are chasing the money. If one person involved in a matter which we are chasing 2.4, almost 2.4 million euros, and one person out of the 3 accused or 2 accused at a point makes a plea offer of 2 million euros, and we are told that was even enhanced later on, what will be the basis to reject that plea offer? I think the Attorney General owes us an explanation to that issue, because it's the money that you and I are interested in. Yes, a criminal prosecution may lead to jail terms if it is successful and bring deterrence, but there is good reason we have the plea process.
Now, Associate Professor of Law at the University of Ghana, Kojo Etia, says rejecting the plea bargain request raises issues as to the real motive of the AG in prosecuting this case. He also says the AG may have rather caused financial loss to the state if Ghana does not end up recovering this amount.
The amount that was put on the table was huge. About 90% of the cost that the state has incurred as a result of this ambulance saga. For the Attorney General not to have accepted it also raises a question as to the motive for why he wants to prosecute the case. And in some cases, we can even say that the Attorney General could be tried for the case of causing financial loss to the state, because that is why we have the plea bargaining thing in place, that you're able to recover some money for the state. And if that is on the table and the Attorney General refuses it, for whatever reason, if this is an opportunity for him to make the plea bargaining process work, and he decides to ignore it or overlook it, the question is, what is his motive? And if we should lose this amount of money, then he has caused financial loss to the state. So long as it is proven that indeed there is a blue seal or whatever, that the name of the company said we want to pay this money, then he refuses, then the question is, why did he introduce a plea bargaining thing at all?
You heard the Kojo Etia, he's Associate Professor of Law at the University of Ghana, but the national organizer of the governing MPP, Henry Nanabuachi, himself a lawyer, says the AG was right to have rejected the request, insisting the claims the AG may be causing financial loss to the state is an attempt to pollute the minds of people.
Attorney General wrote to Forson, and Forson said that he has no objection to the plea bargain. Then Attorney General wanted to seek clarification and asked whether you are by way associating yourself to this request by way of plea bargain. Forson said no, because you know why? Smartly, he thinks that when he accepts it, it is an admission of guilt. It's an admission of wrongdoing. So I think the good professor should probably get the documents and read, because if he carries this same submission elsewhere, he will be polluting the minds of people.
Harry Nanabuachi is the national organizer of the MPP. And Top Story is always brought to you by Telecel. Let's get onto the phone lines now and do more on this particular developing story. Alfred Tuayabua is Deputy Attorney General, and he joins us via the phone now. I'm grateful to you for joining. The minority leader is requesting for a live telecast of proceedings. You've done it before. The Chief Justice accepted it. Do you go with the request by the minority leader?
Good evening, my brother. We have no objection to that request, but of course, subject to the discretion of the Chief Justice, because we believe in transparency, we believe in accountability, and we abhor misreporting. And so, if the Chief Justice, in her wisdom, decides that this matter should be live, we have no objection to say. In fact, the AG at different fora had indicated that when it comes to public interest matters, or matters where the public has that kind of interest, it will be the interest of justice that such proceedings are broadcast live on tele and on radio. So we have no objection to it. But as I said, the CJ has the final say. Not only the broadcast, we're also looking at a situation where we can have day-to-day hearing so that we can get to the end of this matter as soon as possible. So the broadcast, if possible, may have to go with day-to-day hearing so that we can get to the end of this particular matter.
Is that a request you also put before the CJ?
We've not put that request, but because of this interview, I'm just also indicating to you, we will not even be opposed to a request.
Yes, and I'm just asking whether it's a request you would also think about putting before the CJ.
We may, but I'm not going to say that we have taken that decision. I'm just telling you that we will not be opposed to such a request, and we will maybe consider it.
Well, don't you think this is probably a strategy by the team, the minority leaders team, to probably, try to get this issue a bit more complicated? Is that? Don't you think that is what it is?
My brother, we are unfazed by this request.
Okay.
If the minority leader wants this matter to be being live on TV and radio, we are prepared for such a request. But if the CJ in her wisdom grants it, we are prepared to go with it.
Okay. Now, let me just give me a bit of education here. If you look at Article 296, exercise of discretionary power, it says, where in this Constitution or in any other law discretionary power is vested in any person or authority, A, that discretionary power should be deemed to imply a duty to be fair and candid. B, the exercise of the discretionary power shall not be arbitrary, capricious, or biased either by resentment, prejudice, or personal dislike, and shall be in accordance with the due process of the law. Now, looking at this, was your department fair and candid in rejecting a plea that was paying almost 90% of a debt for which you were prosecuting some people?
Hello,
Mr. Tuebwa.
I didn't get the last part of the question.
So I'm asking that if you look at the law, was your department candid and fair in refusing a plea request that said, I am willing to pay almost 90% of the debt for which you are prosecuting people?
We were fair and candid. The discretion vested in the Attorney General to either reject or accept such an offer was properly exercised. And for that matter, we have no reservations or problems with regard to the decision taken by the Attorney General in rejecting the offer.
I mean, how candid were you then? Because after all, what's the objective of prosecuting the people? It's not to recover the loss that you say they caused the state. So if the company says, I'm ready to offer you over 2 million euros, why not take it?
My brother, when it comes to prosecution, it is the Attorney General's responsibility to mount criminal prosecution. And it is not true that when you are prosecuting a matter, the sole purpose is to recover. It can be to recover or to prosecute and get punishment, or both. And so, in his wisdom, and based on the offer made, the Attorney General decided that this offer ought to be rejected, and same was rejected.
Hold for me. Let me bring in Sami Jemfi, who is the National Communications Officer of the NDC and a lawyer himself. Sami, grateful for joining here. Now, if you first of all, let's start from the live telecasting. What the AG says they are not opposed to this.
Well, whatever the AG thinks about that is, for me, of no moment to the request that has been made by lawyers for the first accused, Honorable Forson. The Chief Justice is vested with a discretionary power in this matter to decide whether or not she will direct for the proceedings in this matter to be televised, based on very recent precedents that the Chief Justice herself has set, and the rationale for saying, i.e., that matters of public interest need be broadcast live, either on radio or television, so that the public who are interested in the matter can follow and understand, the proceedings. It is our humble expectation that the Chief Justice will apply the same rationale, the same precedent to this request. So we look forward to what the direction of the Chief Justice will be on this matter. Whatever my brother Chia and his friends at the AG's department say about this, for me, is totally irrelevant. They have proven to be very dishonest. My brother issued a press release for and on behalf of the Attorney General on the 23rd of May, 2024 on this matter. At paragraph 2, they categorically denied that the Attorney General has not met any of the accused persons or even contacted them nor sought their cooperation. But today we have compelling, incontrovertible evidence that shows that not only has the Attorney General met the third accused person, he's had several telephone conversations with him. One evidence of one that we've already put out that they have not been able to rebut. And yet, he is not on Joy News issuing an apology for that falsehood he published in that press release. He's here trying to carry favor with the people of this country. It's very sad that the AG's department that is supposed to be the voice for the voiceless and fighters for justice will sing this low. On the issue of financial laws that you asked me, my brother, it is very, very simple. You saw him circumlocating the issue. These same people in the Atu ACN matter, after they prosecuted and secured the conviction of Atu ACN for stealing and money laundering of an amount, to the tune of 90 million cedis, were amenable to recover the money. And so they gave Atu ACN a plea bargain and asked him to pay the money. He paid about 35 million cedis out of that, if I'm not mistaken. And even with the 55 million left, the court gave him a grace period. Now, these same people in this ambulance case, they have a proposal for a plea bargain from the company that was a beneficiary of the contract, under dispute. And the company says, look, if you say our ambulances are defective, no problem. We are willing to fix it. We have actually shipped to you all the medical accessories. They have refused to clear the medical accessories since they arrived at the Tema port in October 2016. It's been close to 8 years. The accessories are there, rotten, so that they can make a case of willfully causing financial loss to the state against Atu Forson and Mr. Jakpa. The company says, no problem. If you will not allow us to clear the medical supplies, to address your concern about loss, no problem. Ship our ambulances to us. Let us give you your 2 million euros, which you claim to have lost. That one, too, the AG says, we don't want the money. Mensah, this should just tell you that these guys have set out to witch hunt, to victimize,
but Sammy, like he explained
the honorable Atu Forson, our minority leader over this.
Sammy, like he explained there, I mean, plea bargaining is discretionary. The AG is not enjoined by any law to say accepted as soon as it is made. So are we then right to hold him accountable that he decided that he won't accept the plea bargain at that point in time?
Were you not the one who was referencing Article 296 not too long ago?
Where
you indicated that per Article 296, discretionary power ought to be exercised fairly, candidly, and not whimsically or arbitrarily. So if in the case of Atu ACN, which involved an allegation of stealing of 90 million cedis, an allegation that, according to the court, was proven and established, for which reason Atuisian was convicted. And yet, in such a damning case, they were willing to settle through plea bargain. Now, can they exercise their discretionary, contrary to that, in the case of Atuforti, and say that even in this case of willfully causing financial loss to the state, alleged, which they are here to prove, they are not willing. So that 2 million euros, you claim that somebody has caused financial loss to the state to the tune of 2 million euros. The person says, I'm ready to pay you your money. You say you don't want it. What is the sense in that? Then are you really interested in a loss?
Okay.
Or you're only interested in vendetta?
Thank you. Mr. Chairboy, now, Sami Jenfi says there that in your statement, the earlier statement, you denied categorically that there has never been that particular communication between the AG and the third accused. How do you respond to that?
My brother, that is in the petition. If you have our release there, read it. We said the AG had not met any of the accused persons, or especially the third accused person, to implicate the first accused person, Honorable Kojo, Forson. So the context is different. So it's about meeting him to say, go and do ABC. So we never said that he had never met him on any other matters. So that's it, please. You read it well and you realize that one is being taken out.
Brother, can I read what he wrote in the press release?
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Sami, yes, you can.
Okay, so paragraph 2 of the press release reads, the Republic has never required or desired the cooperation of any of the accused persons in the matter. Never required or desired the cooperation of any of the accused persons in the matter, in which it has already succeeded in establishing a prima facie case against all the accused persons. Neither the Attorney General nor any officer from the Office of the Attorney General has approached any of the accused persons with the view to obtaining evidence from them.
That is what the second point
my brother
says.
Is Lawyer Tia saying
So
that,
Sami, it's okay.
the context was that-
Let Tia respond to this. So lawyer, this is your own statement, word to word, read to you.
What you wrote there is what I just explained. You may meet someone for a different purpose, but the allegation was that he had met the third accused person to ensure that, or in order to ensure that the third accused person implicates the first. And that's the response that we gave. So I don't want us to belabor the point there. In any event,
No. You are not answering the question. My brother,
our
the
spokesperson
issue
came
is simple.
out
You said
and then we
you have never raised out
so I don't
any of the accused persons
by this because it's so clear.
You have heard the tape.
Sami, allow Tia to make his point. Allow Tia to make his point. You come in.
Obviously seeking the cooperation.
Sami
of
Envi,
the
allow
third
Tia
accused
to make
person.
his point. You'd come in. So just give him the time for him to make his point.
Yes, if you allow me, my brother, I'm constrained when it comes to commenting on this matter live already because the accused person, in fact, the first accused person has filed an application in court for these matters to be gone into. And so, in fact, I accepted to grant this interview with respect to the request for the broadcast. But the other matters definitely won't get to court. We'll argue that one in court, but not on this particular forum, my brother.
So, Mr. Tia, just this question for me. Looking at where we are now, is it in the consideration of the AG's department to reconsider that plea bargaining request that was put on the table by the third accused?
Yes, plea bargaining is up to the date of final judgment. So if, for example, another request is put in, you cannot say because of this happening, so let's ignore it. Only by law, we are supposed to look at whatever application comes before us. And so plea bargaining is up to the date of judgment.
All right. So that's it. Thank you very much for joining. But let me bring in Professor Kojo Appiah. Prof, grateful for joining. Now, the decision or the request by the minority leader to the CJ is to allow for a live telecast of his trial. What do you say to it?
It's a good idea. I think it will serve the cause of justice and make sure that the issues surrounding the credibility of the office of the Attorney General and the whole bargaining process and the trial itself, I think it has garnered public interest. And so on the same ground that the other case there was a request for a hearing to be made public, it should on that basis be granted as such so that people will get to know what is happening and they will make their informed minds and will be able to help clarify some things that may be agitating people's minds.
Won't it open the floodgate for so many of such requests coming in the future?
Of course, it should be subject to some rules. So one of the key reasons is that it's a case of public interest. And if the case of public interest, the other question is, if you look at the generality of discussions around it and the controversy surrounding it, will it be in the interest of the general public and interest of the general public to ensure that they are properly served by listening and hearing and to learn something from the case directly from the court so that they can also be updated instead of getting bits and pieces of information through radio and television and the media.
Professor Kojo, I'm grateful to you for joining. He is Associate Professor of Other School of Law, University of Ghana. Thank you to you for joining, and also to Sami Jemfi and Alfred Tiayabwa. Up next year is Newsnight.
You listening to me on the radio. I know exactly what you need, and I go sort you out. But first, quick introduction. Maybe the connection man. I'll make things happen. Whether it be business, fashion, or the latest trend in town, I go connect you. I know when people connect, big things they happen. I am the plug to your plug. Anything you want, that's sorted. I go show you where options they line them up for you. You want download or you want stream? Link up. I got you. I conquer everywhere. From circles to KJT. If you come to Navrongo, Jiosu to Kita, Techima to Kumbungu. I'll be the link between you and the next big opportunity. It be me where I go connect you, make it happen. Oh, you want to know my name? I am Telecel.
Switch to Telecel for the best value voice and data services and connect to the things that matter. Connecting dreams, connecting goals, connecting passions.
Telecel, connecting energies.
KB, aka Kubeboga, now drives a Bugatti. He can even travel by road from Accra to London. Oh, wow. KB's source of wealth is agriculture. Yes, coconut business. After losing his bank job, he started supplying coconuts at events. Now, he owns large coconut plantations and employs many young people. Charlie, we all need to trust the process, because hope days.
There has never been a better time to enter into agribusiness. Take a bold step today with the Ghana Grows program, because every step pays. Ejuma Wokrom, Ghana Grows, Hope Day, an initiative of the MasterCard Foundation in partnership with Springboard Roadshow Foundation and Limehouse.
Are you 16 to 27 years old? Employers aren't just after degrees anymore. Stay relevant. Apply to DTI, Ghana's top TVET institution. We offer cutting-edge programs like precision welding and fabrication, design innovation and entrepreneurship, with hands-on training to prepare you for real-world challenges. Join us and succeed in industries like manufacturing, construction, and technology. At DTI, you'll learn by doing in a supportive environment. Be inspired by success stories of TVET graduates thriving in diverse fields. Visit dtiafrica.com or call 054-169-3534. Pick up admissions forms at our campus in Mimpasem, East Legon. DTI, wired for jobs.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. In the next 60 minutes, tensions heightening between TUC and SNIT as high-powered meeting ends, with TUC insisting the deal to sell off major shares in 4 hotels to Rock City Hotel must be botched.
If they have taken the decision and they think that they have the right and the mandate to take a decision on behalf of SNET because they have been appointed, we wouldn't be sitting here with them. The decision has not been made. The conclusion was clear that they are listening. And this came from the board chair that, please, we are still listening.
We have details as the labour unions now target the Uganda at the architecture of SNET as they propose far-reaching amendments to make workers the major decision makers.
They are not convinced at all, and we're going to ask for a total restructure of SNET, because this is not how you should manage workers' money, and it's because the money this is not government money, this is workers' money.
I'll take you live to the ministry where the labour unions are currently locked up in a meeting with the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, where they expect to convince government to intervene. We're live on the ground. Majority Leader to investigate claims. Chairman of the Finance Committee, Kweku Kwarteng, is the main stumbling block against the approval of some tax waivers stuck in Parliament for years.
Which chairman?
Honorable Carlos Ahenkra.
He told me that.
Yes,
I will get into this.
Yes.
I will get into this. I'm saying that I will get into it.
We have details as a minority allege the NPP is scheming to remove their own member, Kweku Kwarteng, as chairman of the Finance Committee due to his alleged opposition to the tax waivers.
The majority side are scheming to make sure that they take Kweku Kwarteng out so that he will not be the chairman of the Finance Committee.
We have details of that, and government targets end of 2024 to roll out 5G services in the country, aimed towards a fully digitized Ghana by 2030. But are we ready for this rollout?
This collaboration ensures that we leverage cutting-edge, world-class expertise and technology to build a robust digital infrastructure.
We have details as government justifies the selection of Next Gen Infrastructure Company to roll out the service despite the company's formation just a week before the policy approval.
It is born out of, as I indicated, our past experiences, and that is why we chose not to auction it.
And in business, China leads as top destination for Ghana's imports, according to latest report from the Statistical Service.
And as well as Ghana Football Association backs Otuado's collapse and decision to drop under a U, insisting the team is in a rebuilding mode.
That and more in tonight's edition of Newsnight. I am Emefa Apawu. I'm doing this with Evans Mensah. Details shortly.
And tonight, tensions between the labour unions and the board of SNET heightens as both conclude the first in a series of meetings over the proposal to sell major shares in 4 huge hotels to a private partner. And in this case, it is the Agric Minister's Rock City, Brian Champon, which is affiliated with that minister. The labour unions made it clear to the board they want this deal cancelled with immediate effect. Board chair of SNET was at this meeting. We understand my colleague Michael Papania-Shali was there and joins me right now on the phone with a bit more. Do we know who else was in this meeting? Hello, Michael, can you hear me? Okay, we'll bring you that update pretty shortly because this meeting just ending, a very important meeting between the labour unions and the SNET board. Remember that the president himself had directed that SNET will meet with the labour unions, also has directed the Minister for Employment and Pensions to also engage with the workers. That meeting has been happening. We've been hearing from the workers themselves on what has been happening. We understand that the SNET board chair was himself in this particular meeting. There was a follow-up meeting that we were expecting between the workers and the employment minister that we also expect that will get to the heart of this particular issue, the SNET's decision to sell 60% shares in 4 top hotels, including the Labadi Beach Hotel, to another hotel, Rock City, owned by the Agric Minister. We'll be hearing from the TUC Secretary General, who has been speaking to us on the back of this meeting.
SNET says that they have not made a decision to sell the stake of SNIT in these 4 hotels to anyone. They are still considering proposals, and that they are listening, given what has happened. They are listening. And so this meeting was one of the sessions that allowed them to listen. And our advice was very simple and straightforward. We said, please, given all what has happened, cancel the deal, convene a stakeholder meeting. There are a number of issues that have come up about SNIT in the last couple of weeks. Let us take them one after the other. And what we concluded was that we are ready to work together with SNIT board to make sure that the image that has gone out about SNIT is changed. If they have taken the decision and they think that they have the right and the mandate to take a decision on behalf of SNIT because they have been appointed, we wouldn't be sitting here with them. The decision has not been made. And we have advised that they should not sell our stake to anyone. I think we had a very fruitful meeting. The conclusion was clear that they are listening. And this came from the board chair, that please, we are still listening. That question you asked was asked to them. And the answer was, we are still listening. So if indeed they are listening, we have offered our advice. And we are politely saying, please stop this deal. Convene a stakeholder meeting. Let's look at this investment. Let us look at the other issues that have come into the public domain. No. There's no ultimatum in this matter.
So that's Dr. Yauba there, the TUC Secretary General. So Evans, like you've been saying, there have been a number of meetings today. First, they've been meeting SNIT themselves with a SNIT board chair, storming out of that particular meeting, angry amongst others. Well, we've been hearing also from Clocksack. They say that they are now targeting to take over the board of SNIT themselves.
There were so many negatives in the transaction that we have pointed it out to them. How can you go through a tender process and you give specifications, and then along the line you change the specifications? Our Procurement Act does not allow this. We've told them to cancel the deal. That was our advice to them. Cancel the deal. We will not be part of this deal. What we are saying is that the Act 766 give control to workers when it comes to their second tier and they are performing. The same thing should happen to tier 1. We will take control. This is our money and we would take control. They dare not. They dare not. We've told them in plain language, they dare not. They dare not go ahead with this deal. And we've told them. That's why I'm saying we're not convinced, and we tell them in plain language, we are not convinced with what you are telling us. We are not convinced. We are not convinced at all. And we're going to ask for a total restructure of SNIT. Because this is not how you should manage workers' money. And it's because the money this is not government money, this is workers' money. And one will say, why should government be appointing even a chair to the SNIT board? It's not government money, it's workers' money. It's workers that must appoint who is supposed to steer our affairs for us. So we're going to look at that. We're not going to allow it.
So that's Clocksack there on that issue, Evans. And my colleague Papani Ashale is live on the ground now in that meeting that's currently underway between the Ministry of Labour and then also Labour as well in this another leg of meetings for today.
And Papani, walk us through who was in this meeting.
Yeah, Evans, if you're referring to the earlier meeting that was held between the labor unions and that of the SNIT board, you have representatives from the teacher union side. I met the president of the Ghana National Association of Teachers representing the teacher side. You also have some of the members from the TUC, their mother body again. You also have individuals from some of the affiliate unions. We are talking about the entire public sector workers union. So everybody simply was interested in knowing or understanding the mind or the understanding behind Senate going ahead with this particular decision. But at the end of this decision, what we know is that Senate told them that, well, although the consideration has already been made, they are not going ahead to sell the shares just yet.
And we've heard the workers already tell us that they were not happy with the conversation and the Senate's position in the matter. You also, from what I understand, also saw the Senate board chairman himself there. Do you know who else he came with from Senate?
So at the Senate level, we know that the board chair was there. But additionally, the representatives from the other unions. So I saw the representatives from the labor side specifically. 3 of them represented as part of the board of Senate. But however, what we understand, what we try to gather is that they were quiet on the matter because of conflict of interest, that they represent the other party that they are engaging with at the moment. So primarily the conversation was between the board chair and that of the leaders of the labor unions.
And their position was that this is an agreement that is still being negotiated.
So at least at Senate level, that's what they say, that whatever they have put out there is where they have gotten to. However, they are going to tarry slowly. What they told the labor unions categorically was that they haven't made any other further step. However, they are listening to all the opinions, especially because since this news broke out, there have been many opinions out there, primarily from the labor union. So they were at that particular meeting to listen. But that listening appears that the labor unions are not interested in hearing. That listening only means that you want to make some consideration, or want to make some input, or you want to modify these particular terms. What they want at this moment is for you to cancel the contract or cancel the due, end it there. We look for other means. And you hear the likes of Dr. Bampoado and then Dr. Yaoba saying that they are ready as labor unions to give their opinions as to how to restructure Senate to make it more profitable, if that is the problem. But at the moment, they are not interested in hearing any conversation about selling off their shares to anybody, let alone to a politically motivated or somebody who is politically inclined.
What about the meeting with the employment minister?
Evans, this meeting, we understand, started around exactly at 4 p.m. and has dragged on until now. It's sometime after 6 p.m. now. This will be well into 2 hours. What we know, again, is that labor unions are not ready to compromise on their decision. However, they will have to finish the meeting for us to know the exact details of this particular conversation. We have some hints as to what some of these reasons for this prolonged meeting with the labor ministry will be. And you heard Dr. Bampoado talk about the fact that they have some proposals as to how to change the architecture of Senate. As labor unions, they feel that they contribute so much to this fund that is being managed by Senate. And so therefore they should have there should be major stakeholders and have the final say or one of the biggest say on that particular board. However, it appears that government with some of its other appointments may have more voices on that particular board. So those are some of the negotiations what we heard from the labor side that they are willing to put forward to make sure that they become the sole managers of their own funds at the end of the day, and that no other person other than them should be able to decide how their funds should be spent and in what instruments it should be put in. They want to be the beginning and the end of their pension scheme.
And I wonder if the labor union, the leadership of the labor unions came there alone, or they came with some other members of the respective unions. I know Clockside was there yesterday when this happened. You could see in that meeting that there were other ordinary workers who had thronged there and were ready to shout "Choboy" just to show that indeed this is not a position just being articulated by their leadership, but the entire membership of the union is behind that. Have we seen that today?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have some of those people that, for lack of a better word, you call them the grassroots membership. You have a high-powered delegation from the labor side, very much interested in the conversations that are going to go on between themselves and that of government. What they told us yesterday, at least, was that this is a directive from the presidency for them to engage the Ministry of Labor. So They are here in their numbers to try and listen to at least what government has to say, and they have some proposals of their own. What we understand again is that this is not a meeting they are taking lightly. They are taking this meeting as though these are the directives right from the heart of government in itself. So you'd have a lot of them here, and many of them actually were around even before the meeting started. So when the meeting finally concludes, we may be able to pinpoint who exactly was here and who represented what and said what at a particular meeting, Evans.
Bunny, thank you very much. And he is monitoring that second meeting, Emefa, between the leadership of organized labor and the employment minister, which we understand was part of the president's directive to the minister to sit down with the labor unions and discuss this particular matter. And if you're just joining us, wondering what we are talking about and which directive that is, it relates to the SNI's decision to sell 60% of its shares in 4 top hotels to Rock City, an entity owned by the Agric minister. The workers have said that they are opposed to this and nothing will change their minds about this, and that they will not allow SNIT to proceed with the deal. From what we understand, SNIT is standing its ground as of this moment. The conversations are still proceeding. The workers want that stopped immediately. We'll get a perspective of some of the other leaders of other labor unions who are also joining the reps in this particular meeting to speak up about this unfolding issue. Part of it is before Shraj. We're yet to hear what has happened with that investigation. Yesterday, Adabraka updated us that he's yet to hear from from Shraj beyond their acknowledgement of receipt of his petition that he sent. If you're listening to us and you have thoughts on this, please share with us. 055-1111-997.
Well, but we have on the phone at least one of them that was in that particular meeting. Unfortunately, we've lost him there. The Coalition of Concerned Teachers, they were also in that particular meeting. And it appears that it's heating up as we speak, but we are all over it for you. My colleague Papani Ashali is there. And as and when we get more from that meeting, we'll bring that to you. But let's head to Parliament. There's some controversy brewing there, and Majority Leader Alexander Afenyomakin says he will investigate claims that a member of his caucus, Kweku Kwating, who is the chairman of the Finance Committee, is blocking the tax waivers before the House.
Well, close to $300 million worth of tax waivers is stuck in the Finance Committee, caught in a political controversy with the minority vowing to oppose it every step of the way. Addressing journalists today in Parliament, the Majority Leader promised an investigation into allegations his Obuasi West colleague is siding with the NDC in blocking the transaction. He also charged his colleagues in the NDC to be patriotic and join them to pass the tax waivers, or they will use your numbers to push the waivers through.
Government's 1D, 1F policy, which policy requires that certain tax incentives are given. And you know how the minority has been stampeding this whole policy of government, and it appears that they have not given up.
Which chairman?
Honorable Carlos Ahenkra.
He told
said,
you that.
Yes,
I will get into this.
Yes.
I will get into this. I'm saying that I'll get into it.
We don't want unnecessary acrimony. It's the reason why we still engage our colleagues in the minority. It's the reason why we are appealing to them. But I can assure you that when we get to that critical bridge, we'll have no difficulty at all in crossing that bridge. They are merely playing politics with it. And I'm saying that the waivers would help our local businesses to expand and be more competitive. They would increase production and they would become innovative because they would have the needed liquidity. It is important that we lay the fact bare, because they are out there saying that government is giving freebies. But it is important for us to put the issue in proper perspective and remind Ghanaians, including the minority, what they did in government, and prove to them that they are only acting in bad faith. And that is what we've done, to call on our colleagues to support government. Therefore, if they are very patriotic, if the NDC are indeed patriotic, I hold the view that they have to support this government. We just want to appeal to their conscience.
That's Majority Leader Alexander Fenyo marking there. But for context, Parliamentary Affairs Correspondent Kweku Asante joins us in studio with more on this particular developing controversy. Kweku, how widespread is this particular claim that Kweku Kwarteng, an NPP MP, is siding with the NDC in blocking these tax waivers?
So, for some of these tax waivers have been in Parliament for 3 years. There are those that have been at the Finance Committee for 2 years. And they have to get through the Finance Committee before they get to Parliament, the floor of the House. In fact, the minority have always made their insistence known that they were not going to support this. But there have been claims among the majority MPs that their own colleagues, Kweku Kwarteng, who is the MP for Boase West, is siding with the NDC MPs in not approving this. The rumor mill had it, and then on the floor of the House, the MP for Tema West, Carlos Ahinkra, who is the chairman of the Trade and Industry Committee. And the Trade and Industry Committee is quite concerned about this because they are supervising the 1D, 1F program. He did say on the floor that he believed Kweku Kwarteng had a sinister agenda, for which reason he was not getting these tax waivers through the committee to the floor of the House.
And it appears this issue has even come up on the floor, like you've been referencing, with the Trade Minister filing questions against his own colleague.
Yes, in the entire life of Parliament since 1993, no question has been filed against a chairman of a committee. But Katie Amon, who is the Minister for Trade and Industry and MP for Adansia Sokwa, did file a question directed at Kweku Kwarteng to come and answer as to why he was not forwarding these tax waiver requests from the committee to come to the floor of the House. It was an urgent question. It was advertised on the other paper, but it was never asked on the floor because we understood there was some background conversation to be had on this. In fact, on the last day of Parliament going for Easter break, they did try to get the Vice Chair to organize a committee meeting to put together these reports and bring it to the floor because we understood at the time that Kweku Kwarteng just did not want to organize that meeting to get the tax waivers through. Eventually, the Speaker of Parliament adjourned the House abruptly and they couldn't get that through. For the emergency meeting as well, they had to abandon plans.
So essentially, that urgent question was never answered by Kweku Kwarteng on the floor. Well, the minority now is saying that there's a scheme to remove Kweku Kwarteng as chair of the Finance Committee.
Yes, Ahmed Ibrahim is the deputy minority. We're speaking with Evans Mensah on PM Express 2 weeks ago. Did say that despite having met the president and all that, they are not changing their stance. And they, in the minority leadership, know that there is a scheme to remove Kweku Kwarteng because of his stance on these tax waivers.
The majority side are scheming to make sure that they take Kweku Kwarteng out so that he will not be the chairman of the Finance Committee.
You know this
then
how?
They bring a new person who will come and just rubber stamp.
So there's a scheme to remove Kweku Kwarteng as chairman?
There is.
But they had an opportunity with the reshuffle recently that removed Chairman Sabonso.
No.
If they wanted to, they would have taken him out.
No, as a chairman of Finance, that's what I'm saying, that is the majority leadership, they will decide who should be the chairman of the Finance Committee. But for the stand that he has taken, you know, we are in a country now, if you want to save the national interest, you lose your post. If you don't lose your post, they will trigger the impeachment processes against you.
Well, so this happened on PM Express, Evans, really. I'm sure you probed further to find out what exactly what's going on when it comes to Kweku Kwarteng and his work in Parliament.
Well, according to the minority, and remember this happened a day after they had met the president. And he tells me that the president had called the minority side of Parliament into a meeting at Jubilee House just to discuss this particular matter, to try and get them to support the passage of this bill that would then allow the tax waivers to be approved, and then the companies will benefit. And he says when he went into that meeting, first of all, Kweku Kwarteng wasn't part of that conversation at the presidency. But when they went to that meeting, the minority side insisted that they cannot support the passage of this particular bill.
Did he say why Kweku Kwarteng was not at that meeting?
The impression he gave was that this was an invitation extended to the minority side to come, and that's why he wasn't there. But they were very clear to the president, according to him, that we're not going to back the passage of this particular bill before Parliament for the tax waivers to go through. And they make the point to the president that they rather would want the Finance Committee to rationalize the list of beneficiaries under the tax waivers that have been proposed, because he claims that when the committee sat to look at the entire list, they found out that some of the agencies that have been listed there, some of them did not deserve the waivers that they were being offered, and some of them, the amounts quoted didn't reflect the reality, and so they had to slash some down. And he says that convinced them that you can get a bit more out of this if you allow the finance committee to do a bit more work in rationalizing it. And that is why from 400 million is now dropped to around 300 million, and they believe they can
go
do
down
a bit more
further.
So that he says when they told the president that they were convinced, that the president himself was convinced that that was a necessary step to take. And then we've seen this particular press conference. But as far as Kuku Kwarteng is concerned, they're convinced that there is a scheme to get him out of the way. I want to bring in Richard Echampon, who is a deputy ranking member on the finance committee and joins us on the line right now. You've heard the majority leader today. They're questioning your patriotism and that you simply are attempting to sabotage this economy because of the position you've taken on these tax waivers. Your reaction?
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. I was shocked to hear the majority leader use those words describing the minority in that light, that we are rather sabotaging government business. In any case, Evans, he is the majority leader. He is in charge of government business. He is the chairman of the Business Committee of Parliament. Every Monday, they meet and program activities of the week. So if these tax exemptions are his priority, the first thing is to program it, call it a finance committee chairman, to call for a meeting. Nobody has called for a meeting of which the minority has declined attending that meeting. As we speak, there is nothing before the committee. The waivers were brought to the committee. We scheduled a meeting. And Chairman Mensah, the former leader, was there. The current majority leader himself attended the meeting for the first time. The deputy majority leader was there. And then we decided to take them case by case basis. The first two that we look at, we saw the inconsistencies in those numbers. For example, Evans, a company who is into manufacturing, and then they brought a tax request or tax exemption request to Parliament. It has gone through Minister of Finance to Cabinet. GIA has done his assessment, and they put in that they are importing 61 vehicles. And we said, no. What are you using 61 vehicles for? And they said it's an oversight. Meaning, Minister of Finance did not see this, Cabinet didn't see this, and the GIA overlooked this. And they said they are taking off the 61 units of vehicles. Even, for example, if you are requesting for $3.8 million, including the 61 units of vehicles, meaning the 61 units of vehicles will give you X amount. Is that not the case? So if you take off the 61 units of vehicles, the total amount shouldn't remain 3.8 million. I've never seen this accounting in my life. But they still maintain the grand total. And I said, no, this thing doesn't add up. And they agree with that. And in short, they said they are taking all the documents, they are going to put their house in order. So when Parliament resumes, they will come before the committee so that we'll have a full session.
And this is the Trade Ministry.
No, Finance Ministry. Honorable was leading the ministry.
But from the very beginning, it's been the Trade Ministry, particularly Katie Hammond, who says, in ads, he's spoken to him on this before, that this is a document that his ministry has been sponsoring.
Katie Hammond did not attend the meeting. There's a coordinator for 1D1F. So he was speaking to the numbers and then all the figures. So he represented the ministry. And he agreed with the committee that they are going to put their house in order so that they will come fully prepared, so the committee will look at their request. So why the sudden U-turn for the majority leader to blame minority who has no hand in pushing government business? If they have their internal issues, they should resolve it among themselves. We have nothing to do with the MPP. We are ready to help government achieve whatever they want to achieve.
You are on the committee. Is the committee's chairperson, Kuku Kwarteng, also opposed to this, as is being suggested over the last few weeks?
I didn't get your question. If you can come again.
The chairman of the finance committee, Kuku Kwarteng, when you've met on this subject, what has been his position on it?
No, I am not frank with you. He was pushing for us to clear all the requests before the committee, about 45
5 or 43 of them. And even we said no, we can't use 3 hours to do this work. So let's work according to our own pace. If we're able to collect 10 or even 20, we'll present a report on it, then we'll come back and deal with the rest.
So in the meeting,
Honorable Chairman was in the meeting. Afenya Markin was there. And all of us agreed that let's start. So when we started, we got to know that there are a lot of inconsistencies. And we resolved that they should go back, put their house in order. Then when Parliament resumes, then we'll meet and then we'll clear everything on our table. And you at the meeting, you agree with us. And you go to organize a press conference because of your inept.
So
what kind of bad faith is
for
this?
clarity,
Your call has been put on
Richard,
hold.
for clarity,
Please wait to be
and apologies for that background interference there. For clarity, Richard, the chairman of the committee, Kuku Kwating, who has been suggested by some of his own colleagues, including the former deputy trade minister, who had said on the floor that Kuku Kwating was opposed to the tax waiver. You're saying that at the committee level, he was in favor of the committee clearing the tax waivers?
Because he scheduled, it was emergency meeting. We went to Parliament because of the record. It wasn't part of the agendas. But us in the night that there should be an emergency meeting. All of us attended the meeting, including the minority leader. So if we want to sabotage government business, we could have taken a decision that we will not attend the meeting and go to the floor and then scatter everything. We attended the meeting. We started the process. And we got to a point that the numbers doesn't add up. And we did not prepare those numbers. We don't work with GRA. We are not at the Ministry of Finance or at cabinet level. So how can all these 3 agencies will get all these things wrong? And you agree with the committee that you are going to just put the numbers in order so that we come back. And you, the majority leader, Fenyo Martin, you were there. And when we were about rising, he just stood up,
Richard,
commanding all of us to go back and meet, and then the one that has no problem,
Richard,
we should deal with it.
Richard,
boys?
The minority side, just for clarity, you're not opposed to the tax waivers. You just think that the number mentioned, which was originally $400 million, is simply too much, and that if you rationalize it and you reduce it significantly, you are in a position to support it.
Since 2017, the minority has supported several tax exemptions. So in principle, we've never said anywhere that we will not support any tax exemption. Because in the 24-hour economy we are preaching, it will hang on the tax credit and tax exemptions. We are talking about the timing, and we are talking about the numbers involved. For example, there's one company that they quoted $264 million. It is phase 1 and phase 2. And we got the information that the phase 1 is already done. So why are you adding the phase 1 to the phase 2?
So if
and they agree with that.
If this list, Richard, finally,
and it came to 142 million.
Yeah, Richard. So if this list is rationalized, you support it?
We have never said anywhere that we don't support tax exemption.
Okay, and that's Richard Echampo. He's a deputy ranking member from the Finance Committee on this particular subject.
Well, we can hear from the majority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, accusing his NDC colleagues of political hypocrisy and seeking to sabotage the economic development of the country.
But we know that in 2016, this country experienced the most outrageous tax giveaway ever seen in Ghana when the NDC, led by President John Mahama, handed a tax waiver of $832 million to Meridian Port Services. Under the 1D1F, all the 42 companies that government has so far brought to Parliament for a waiver, the total waiver being requested, being applied for by government, is not even up to 450 million. And these are Ghanaian companies. In Parliament, Dr. Forson, Deputy Finance Minister, etc., as he then was, quoted, said, and I would quote him, he said that the tax incentives were not merely considered for the sake of being granted, but that such exemptions were necessary. This is Dr. Forson, as he then was. Dr. Forson, Deputy Finance Minister, as he then was.
He said, if the incentives were not granted, it will result in those investments relocating to other countries. Gentlemen and ladies of the press, you have heard him on the floor of the House. Why has he conveniently chosen to stay away from his own argument? Which argument is to the effect that when you grant tax waiver, it helps the economy.
That's Alexander Afenyo marking. It's a good time to go for business. George Yafe, what do we have?
Well, Emefa, we have a lot of things because in the new Ghana Statistical Service report, China is the lead destination for our imports for the first quarter of this year. But also the report has shown that we are moving gradually away from Europe to the Asian countries. And if as the company that is working to explore lithium in Ghana has commenced exploratory or call it groundwork in Adabraka in the central region. The business news is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business.
Life is a stage, and we're all players, playing the supporting role.
The title of my poem is
Playing with rhythm. Playing the lead. Playing to win. Playing with gusto. Playing for the sheer thrill until the curtain falls. Because every journey begins with play. Kickstart yours with MTN. So, what are we doing today? MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST Campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Water is needed all day, all night. So remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no the crack, in no the spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntex tank. A strong, a tough. Water is needed all day, all night. So remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no the crack, in no the spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntex tank. A strong, a tough.
Choboy! We have a new leader in town. Obiarenti. Amafo. Madam was Sibebre. When him say my baby, maybe more charcoal for whiter teeth. More charcoal. Not only that, maybe lemon. More lemon. Zinc for fresher breath. More zinc. And fluoride for stronger teeth.
Introducing the new President Charcoal packed with more power with a combination of charcoal and lemon for naturally whiter teeth. Grab yours now. This advert is FDA approved.
Hello, Ghana. Are you tired of the same old political rhetoric? Do you believe it is time for a change that truly represents the voices of our youth, women, and children? I present to you Nana Kwame Bediako. He is a visionary leader with a passion for making our country better through innovative industrial revolution. Together, we can change the political narrative and create a government that truly represents the interest of all citizens. Join this journey to build a better and inclusive future for all by contributing to our Save Ghana Fund campaign. Your support, no matter the amount, is not just a donation. It is an investment in the shared desire for a more prosperous, equitable, and better nation. To donate, visit www.nkb.com.gh or dial *887 *2024 #. Thank you for your support.
Hello, my name is Mami Akua, an entrepreneur and a mother of two. My work keeps me busy most of the time, and sometimes it takes me away from my family. But the safety and health of my family is very important to me. As a working mother, I cannot afford to take any chances when it comes to matters of health. That is why I signed up for a family health care plan from Equity Health Insurance. My family and I have access to over 700 hospitals, clinics, opticians, dentists, pharmacies, and diagnostic centers across the length and breadth of Ghana. With Equity Health Insurance, I no longer have to worry about medical bills. Anytime a member of my family visits a hospital, Equity Health Insurance has got my family and I covered. What about you? Who has got you covered?
Call Equity Health Insurance on 050-660-7910 and talk to them about your family health needs now. Visit equityhealthinsurance.com for more information. Equity Health Insurance, here for you.
You welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, more than 20% of the country's imports for the first quarter of this year came from China. Now, this makes China the lead destination when it comes to imports for the first 3 months of this year. It was captured in the Ghana Statistical New Report for this development. There is more in this report.
The Ghana Statistical Service report showed that the country spent about 10.5 billion cedis to finance imports from China. This accounted for more than 20% in terms of the total amount spent on imports for the first quarter of this year. Nearly half of the imports originated from Asia, representing almost 17% jump over what we had in the first quarter of last year. Another interesting development that came out of the report is declining trend in the share of imports from Europe, in contrast to a rising share from Asia. This, the Ghana Statistical Service says, signals a shift in Ghana's import sources. In a related development, Switzerland also emerged as the top destination when it comes to the lead destination for the country's exports in the first 3 months of this year. Ghana also earned about 14.1 billion cedis when it comes to total earnings for the first 3 months of 2024. Europe and Asia are consistently Ghana's main export destinations, accounting for 69.7% of exports in quarter 1 of 2024. However, since the fourth quarter of 2023, Asia surpassed Europe as the main export destination.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison is challenging claims that local exporters are not repatriating their earnings. Ghana's exports have picked up strongly over the past years to new record levels ending March this year. However, there are concerns that the majority of these earnings don't find their way back into the country. But the governor insists there are measures in place to ensure that these earnings get back to the country.
By now, you must have heard of the letter of commitment associated with exports. There's a letter of commitment arrangement in place where all exporters have to fill. Now, if you are not able to repatriate export receipts, you are locked out of the system and you are unable to undertake the next export. So it is not possible for exporters to export and not repatriate, except those who have some retention, right? But if you sort of keep more than what your retention allows you, the system locks you out and you cannot undertake the next round of exports. So there's a system in place to check that.
Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison. Now, Vice President Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia has announced that Ghana is ready to introduce an individual credit scoring system. The system actually assesses an individual's credit worthiness with the likelihood of ensuring that these debts are paid on time. Dr. Bawumia reviewed this. This has the time to ensure that people pay these debts on time.
When you pick a profile, any individual, you will have a lot of the Ghana card, which has now been linked to your bank account, to your SIM card, to your DVLA, to your National Health Insurance, to your GRA, and all of that. We are linking all of this. So when you pick the profile, the Ghana card number of any individual, you will have a lot of data about the person, and you can therefore be able to calculate a credit score either based on their bank information or even their mobile money information. And so Ghana is now, I'm happy to say, we are now in a position to start individual credit scoring. And Ghana will be the second country in Sub-Saharan Africa to be able to do it. And we're going to start it this year. We'll launch it very, very soon. Bank of Ghana has given the license to the Credit Reference Bureau. And therefore, once you have your Ghana card, you can get onto the website and you put it in there and you'll see your credit score.
Vice President Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia. Now, the company working on exploration of lithium in Ghana, that is Langdon Lithium, has commenced groundwork on the project site at Adabraka in the central region. Now, this update was contained in an information to investors around the world today. According to the company, initial exploration will commence or comprise geochemical soil sampling and geochemical mapping and rock chip gathering. Its executive chairman says the recently granted Adabraka prospecting license represents unlocking tenure and offering new prospects for the country and developing that site as well. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Back to you, Emefa.
And thank you very much, George. You're still live here on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, residents of Adabraka Sahara, that's my hood, by the way, they are asking authorities to construct gutters to address their severe sanitation issues. They claim the government has neglected their area, possibly due to its strong support for the NDC. In our field exhibition, Sweetie Abochi reports from Adabraka in today's episode of Field Exhibition.
This is Adabraka Sahara, right here in the heart of Accra. And this open gutter, you see, is right in the middle of the street where about 2 school buildings are. Now, it's the morning after about 6 hours of heavy downpour of rain. And we came to assess the situation here. Aside the filth that has engulfed this community, the issues that they raise are alarming. They speak about the neglect of the ruling party because this is not an NPP stronghold. Let's hear the story of filth from the horse's own mouth.
Joe, but I'm say my name is Joe, and my issue is that they say this is an NDC zone, so they won't construct a gutter for us. They have fixed those in the market in Odona, but left this one. Is this nice? Those they have fixed are in hidden places, yet this open one has been neglected. Government, come and construct the gutter for us. As for me, I will not beg the government because they don't beg me to vote for them. They should fix it if they want. Otherwise, they can leave it like that.
Livingston is one of the residents who live here at Adabraka, and he wants to speak about the dire circumstances they find themselves every time the rains come. Let's hear his story now.
When the rains come, we suffer. The place becomes dangerous. They don't drain the gutter as well as they should. AMA was here last week, and this is the result of the work they did. This is why our homes get flooded when it rains. They have politicized the whole thing, but we are all Ghanaians. Initially, they used to bring machines to drain the gutter, but now they use their hands. How would they do a good job? Malaria is a common disease here. It's so worrying. Our children are constantly falling sick. We need government to come to our aid.
My heart goes out to residents in this community, people who live here, who work here, and the students who use this road on a daily basis to get education. If indeed This is an intentional neglect of the ruling New Patriotic Party, because this is not an MPP stronghold. And if, again, indeed, this is the best work that the AMA can do to distill this gutter, then we are faced with a dire sanitation crisis. And only God knows to what end this goes. For Joy News, I'm Sweetie Abochi.
I guess you're very familiar with the areas that she visited, right?
Yeah, of course, Odona. I used to buy some kinky by the gutter. Wow.
Yeah, Evans.
What's in sports?
Yeah.
What do you have in sports?
Well, just a few reactions to Otoado's call-ups. You don't know, yesterday he made a 26-man call-up for the World Cup qualifier game against Mali and Central African Republic, and one big name that was dropped in there was Andre Ayew, the captain. And Otoado did explain that he called the player to inform him of his decision to drop him, but this has generated some controversy among many Ghanaians regarding his snub. Well, the public relations officer of the Ghana Football Association, Neil Armstrong, has been defending the coach's decision to drop Otoado and insisting that the team is in a rebuilding mode at the moment.
He has a broad perspective on what he's doing. He knows the players that are potentially available, the players that are on injury list who should be coming back. He's worked with Dede before. Dede is not a stranger to him. So if he says at this time, for these two games, this is the stock of players that he's going to work with, I think we'll just respect that decision and put all our support behind him, because he's called for it, that we are on a sort of a rebuild, in his words. And so in rebuilding, you look at blending the old or the experience with the new. And he has some experience in there, and feels that the experience he has in there is good enough for these two matches to blend with, especially the new ones that he's brought in, to give us, hopefully, the kind of output that we expect.
Armstrong, the PRO and strategist of the Ghana Football Association. Well, even as the players have begun to arrive, and the man whom we are expecting to be the captain of the side, Thomas Partey, has also arrived, and they will fly to Bamako in the course of the week for that first leg game against Mali.
Thank you very much, Musbao. And we are ready for a rollout of 5G services, at least following an announcement by the Communications and Digitalization Minister, Eslo Oswekofo, today at a press conference. And we are told it will be done in the last quarter of this year. You can listen to the minister at the press conference.
The shared 4G and 5G infrastructure will be built by Nokia and Radisys, with IT architecture and integration provided by Microsoft and Tech Mahindra. This collaboration ensures that we leverage cutting-edge, world-class expertise and technology to build a robust digital infrastructure. NGIC's neutral hosting model and network as a service offering will accelerate national enablement programs, reduce the digital divide, optimize capital expenditure, and ensure efficient operating costs while respecting environmental, social, and governance fundamentals by reducing environmental impact and carbon footprint.
Well, the minister also justified the selection of Next Gen Infrastructure Company to implement the rollout of 5G internet services in Ghana, despite the company's formation just a week before government policy approval.
Now, this is a special purpose vehicle. Once government took the decision that we would use a neutral infrastructure company to deliver this service, there is no existing neutral infrastructure company at the moment. So it had to be specifically formed for the purpose of delivering this service based on the strategic policy decision of government. And it is born out of, as I indicated, our past experiences. And that is why we chose not to auction it.
And that is the Communications Minister, Esle Owusu-Ekufo. And Emefa Apawu, in the last couple of years, we've seen a revolution when it comes to stage plays in Ghana.
Yeah.
It's become a thing right now for many lovers of stage plays. I am one of those who love it. We've seen from our own
Image Bureau, George Shukwe, we've also seen Anklebu, but we're focusing on Image Bureau and April Communications. And I'm excited about this because this will be the first time Nash or Mensah will be directing, and I look forward to it. It's the legend of what? Akushika.
Legend of Akushika. Let's bring in the man himself, George Kwe, who joins us on the telephone line right now. And George, I know this is a big one for you, but also because it's also by Professor Martin Owusu, a celebrated Ghanaian playwright in his own right. What should people look forward to?
Evans and Emefa, good evening. Good evening to all your listeners. We've been working hard for the last 3 months. And for us, this particular one is beyond just another commercial stage event. We're actually doing this to honor Professor Martin Owusu, who in his 80s is still lecturing at the University of Ghana. And this man has taught so many people. So many people owe him a lot of thanks. So we figured it would be appropriate to honor him now. We can't wait for him to kick the bucket first. So everybody should be at the National Theatre this weekend to see something spectacular. It's going to be mind-blowing. Nashoko has done a great job putting this together.
Thank you very much.
Why am I getting my tickets? Where are we supposed to get our tickets, George?
Yes, we are doing digital, www.imagebureaugh.com. Or you can also use our USSD code. You just dial *714 *11 *21 # and you grab a ticket for a cool 200 Ghana cedis. There are packages for students and packages for families as well. Just visit the site and then I'm sure they can sort you out.
What times are these, George?
4 p.m. and 8 p.m. It is on the 1st and 2nd of June, this Saturday and Sunday, and it runs again 8th and 9th of June next Sunday. But the funny and interesting thing is that on the ticket portal, tickets are almost out for 8th and 9th of June, but we still have some tickets available for 1st and 2nd of June.
Evans, we are going on Saturday. Yeah?
Together, yes.
And you know the man, he was in this knit ad. By the way, how old are you? And the young ones will not understand this because they never saw that ad.
Of course.
Abeji is confused.
He's wondering what we're talking about. By the way, enjoy the rest of your evening.
I am Emefa Apawu. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. We have personality profile with Lexis Bill. We are bringing you a playback of that interview that we had with Titi Owusu. You want to stay?